Order 66, the infamous order that almost wiped out the Jedi entirely and birthed the Galactic Empire where the Republic once stood. What is Order 66, though? Well, to understand this, we first have to understand the Grand Army of the Republic and where the Order originated. The Clone Army was authorized by Jedi Master Sifo Dyas as to protect the Republic from the Sith, who were revealed shortly after the Battle of Naboo with the defeat of Darth Maul. After authorizing the army, Sifo Dyas was then killed by his old friend, who we now know as Count Dooku. Order 66 was initially designed by Sifo Dyas to stop any rogue Jedi. Now, the orders are ensured to be carried out without hesitation. This is due to a biochip implanted in the clones' brains during development. This obligates them to follow the protocol. In fact, during the Clone Wars, a chip was accidentally activated, causing the clone to kill a Jedi Knight, which ultimately almost exposed the plot of the Order to the Jedi. If you want to know more, go check out the Clone Wars episode about it. It was one of the better ones. Now, the clones had 149 orders that had been preset into them, if you will. These orders were made as contingency plans by Sifo Dyas to ensure that the Republic would not come to any harm in any situation. An example is Order 65. This was to remove the Supreme Commander, in this case it would be the Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, from power, and if necessary to execute them. Now, all of the orders are along the same line. The army carries out an action to ensure the Republic remains in power. Except Order 66, which is unique. Order 66 was made to be carried out quickly and efficiently. This is the exact order. In the event of Jedi officers acting against the interests of the Republic, and after receiving specific orders verified as coming directly from the Supreme Commander, Chancellor, GAR commanders will remove those officers by lethal force, and command of the GAR will revert to the Supreme Commander, Chancellor, until a new command structure is established. Now, this varies from the other orders in different ways. For example, the initiation of the order can come only from the Supreme Commander. Not very democratic, especially whilst the other orders had to come from members of authority such as the Republic or the Jedi Council or even the Vice-Chancellor. It seems suspicious that Sifo Dyas would trust the Supreme Commander alone with the possible extinction of his people. As well as this, the order was meant to be carried out by the troopers without any hesitation or reason. Now, there are reasons for this. All they needed was the Chancellor to give the order over a certain frequency, and that was it. Now, fun fact for you here actually, when the order was given out by the Chancellor, the frequency was actually encrypted using a separatist code, which kind of, well, points some fingers into the fact that the separatists and the Chancellor were in cahoots. The most interesting specification was the use of deadly force. Unlike Order 65, the Supreme Commander was supposed to be detained if possible, but the Jedi were ordered to be killed as opposed to detained. Of course, this is suspicious, but it doesn't effectively mean it was a Sith plot, as it's general knowledge that if the clones attempted to apprehend a Jedi who had no intention of coming quietly, many troops would be killed in the process. Even if they were captured, which the Jedi, they would probably escape. So, for that reason, it could be argued that the Order was in the interest of ensuring the lives of members of the army. Now, I know what a lot of people are thinking. Order 66 was the clones killing the Jedi. Surely the Jedi should have been able to sense something. They should have somehow foreseen it coming. And although they did kind of know that there was a plot to destroy the Jedi, they didn't think it would come from the clones. Now, this is for a few reasons, one of which, all those years of war had kind of tampered with the Jedi's ability to use the Force, making their visions kind of clouded, if you will. As well as that, it's important to remember the clones had no malicious intent when carrying out the order. For this reason, they were just, well, following orders, if you will. So, for that reason, they couldn't sense any emotion from the clones. They were just obeying the law. hence the reason why the Jedi were taken by surprise when it happened. Now, we all know roughly why the order was carried out. Upon the death of General Grievous, this marked pretty much the end of the Separatists, because the General was really their only military leader. All that was left now was a few wealthy business owners squabbling. For this reason, the Jedi who'd recently been made aware of Chancellor Palpatine's affliction to the dark side went to arrest him, and to make sure he gave up his emergency powers. And we all know how that went. Now, this was sort of the cat's out of the bag moment for Palpatine, and knowing that he couldn't get away with killing 4 members of the Jedi Council, well, he decided to initiate Order 66, which basically made all of the Republic troops, or the clones, kill all of the Jedi. This removed the main threat to his power with the Separatists gone. Now, it's important to remember that shortly before this, the Chancellor had been given more emergency powers, which ultimately gave him authority to execute the order. The timing was very precise, and was a result of decades of planning by Palpatine to remove the Jedi Order and establish his new empire. Now, Palpatine didn't just give the message to every single clone commander to initiate the order, he gave it to the commanders of the Jedi Council, meaning that he would be able to somewhat kill off the members who controlled the Jedi, the real power base to it. The Knights could be swept up later by the rest of the clones, but it was very important to remove the figureheads, if you will, of the Jedi. As well, obviously, they posed the greatest threat. Now, technically, Palpatine had no right to go and form this new empire, because it's a republic. You can't just decide to turn a republic into an empire. For that reason, he needed to have the support of all of the systems in the republic. But the Chancellor had the Republic Army that was loyal to him, until a new government was formed, of course. For this reason, all the systems in the Republic was somewhat forced to agree to the new empire, because there was most likely a lot of Republic troops in their system. As well as that, Palpatine had managed to stop the Galactic War by having Darth Vader, or Anakin, kill the remaining Separatists on Mustafar. So he looked incredibly powerful to the Republic, and a Republic that's been at war for a long time, obviously, it wants a way out of the war. It can see that he's done that, so they kind of got behind the whole idea of an empire, and a lot of them would regret it. Now, Order 66 marked the rise of the Sith and the fall of the Jedi, but interestingly enough, Order 66 was never turned off, if you will. When the clones became stormtroopers, it remained an active order, and Jedi were hunted down for, well, as long as the Empire remained in control. It's what's known as the Jedi Purge. This is basically the Empire hunting down any remaining Jedi. Primarily Darth Vader was doing the hunting. As well as that, Operation Nightfall occurred shortly after the order was initiated, and that's a very interesting subject, but that is a story within itself. If you'd like to learn more about the Jedi Purge and Operation Nightfall, please do give this video a thumbs up and I can get to work on it. I do hope that you enjoyed. Please do like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.